Time for some more chicanery involving wheels, this time focusing on a specific brand, i.e. Realtoy. And within Realtoy, a specific type. Well, two specific types. As you'll see, there's these and these. They both get lumped in with each other and come under the same umbrella. People tend to call them bling wheels. Nobody likes them. I've yet to encounter anybody who doesn't absolutely hate them and gets rid of them at the earliest opportunity. There will be people out there that really like them. I'm convinced of that. There always is, no matter what it is. There's always somebody. Myself, I don't really fall into either category because I don't hate them, but I can see the need to tone them down a little bit. I mean, I can see what they think, especially on the focus. They do look just like really, from some angles, you could almost say they're just like really sort of over the top kind of performance wheels or whatever. I mean, it's really random what they actually come on. The toys themselves, the Realtoy castings themselves, you can't argue with them. They're brilliant. They're proportional. These are what you usually get. These are what you get if you're lucky on a Realtoy. They had several different designs, but so as always, I've got a nice compromise that doesn't involve throwing them away and doesn't involve leaving them as they are either. It just involves toning them down a little bit. Similar to the last video that we did, in fact, it's almost identical at this stage. Really cutting the lengths of the, again, trusty old 16mm heat shrink tube. Some of this was slightly out of sequence. I recorded this before I recorded the sort of cutting heat shrink section on the other one. So this doesn't feature the sophisticated measuring device, i.e. that bit of card that I'd marked out a few different lengths on. So it's a little bit more. It's still, I mean, obviously it's still the same thing. You still width of the wheel plus 1mm. So in this case, with these Realtoy Bling wheels, it's nearly always 5mm the width of the wheel. So you cut a 6mm length of the heat shrink tube. Now, unlike in the last video, because they were small, quite cheap wheels, the Realtoy wheels are just that little bit bigger in diameter. So you just stretch it a little bit. So stretch it exactly like that, no more, no less than that. On a pair of long nose pliers, just give it a little bit of a stretch. It's not often you have to stretch this stuff for bigger wheels, because usually the whole purpose of this heat shrink plastic is to sort of beef up a sort of slightly pathetic looking wheel. You're not really doing it to tone down like quite a big and quite in your face looking wheel. But it's the same principle as before. Just rotate it round. Just make sure that lip that sticks out from the original wheel is even all the way around. Otherwise, the tyre will shrink onto the wheel unevenly, and it'll have like an offset centre, which will look absolutely ridiculous. So once you're happy with it, just again, trusty old cigarette lighter, put it on in bursts like this. Still keep it to very brief bursts. I'm sure Realtoy wheels are that bit better made, so they've probably got a higher melting point than the cheaper ones, but you don't really want to find that out. So yeah, as before, turn it onto its side like that, just to give it a quick searing across the central diameter of it, and then once you've done that, it's just a case of just checking that it spins freely. So all we've really done there is we've just toned the wheel down a little bit by giving it like the presence of some kind of tyre, just so it doesn't look like this completely rimless sort of metal train wheel. With the Porsche Cayenne, I'm just going to because the Mercedes ML and this Cayenne, they both shared the same design. Like I think this is the design that gets people's backs up the most. The other one, the one that's on the Focus, that looks a bit like a Golf GTI alloy. That's I don't think that annoys people quite as much. But this one, because it's not just the sort of completely like without tyre nature of it. I think it's also the fact that they're quite plain. So I'm just giving this a bit of a dartboard look, just filling in the little triangles with a black acrylic pen, and then the main spokes doing those white to match the body. It's and then obviously just the same old trick, just to sort of sear the tyre around it to give it a bit of a tyre edge. And it's weird. The look. I'm not gonna try and say that they don't look slightly weird and unusual, but weird and unusual can be good. They're certainly toned down from just these sort of like featureless sort of train wheels that it that it looked like it had before. So that gives you an idea of the before and after. So this is the Focus. This is the other design, the one that's possibly, I think people hate this design a little bit less than the other one. But I've put the tyre on the front one. I'm just showing you here. If all this tyre business just looks like too much of a faff, then really you could just black the whole wheel with an acrylic marker and call it good if you wanted. You've still toned the wheel down a bit. Now this is again we're that same style that the Focus had, but I'm gonna do something a little bit different with this one. You can see I've done the first one already on the tyre, so I'm just doing the back wheel just to match, so you get an idea of what an entire side looks. But I didn't even know this until I started doing it. If you go around it in white, it's all kind of coincidental really, because the car just happens to be a Mercedes. Once you've gone round them in white like that and fitted the tyre accordingly using the tried and tested method, because of the design of the wheel, when you go over it all with an acrylic pen to make it one colour, it leaves slots around the edge, and those, I mean, you don't have to do anything to get those slots. They just happen sort of naturally almost. And the overall effect, I'm just giving another coat to this back wheel, because when you do that central sort of flaming thing, when you turn it on its side to sort of give it a lick of flame around the whole circumference, just to seal it up and make it all even at the end, there is a potential to end up with like smoke damage on whatever colour you've put on there. So with the white, it had just dulled it a little bit, like you can see there. So so this is like its third coat of white now, but it all works out in the end. It's fine. And then again, going around the actual lip, like I did on the last video with the cheaper ones, you turn the pen almost on its side like that, and just carefully, very, very carefully, just go around the actual lip of the thing, and you end up with something that, I mean, you could almost say that was deliberate, because they look a little bit like AMG wheels that you get in a lot of big Mercs, especially, I mean, I presume with this being Realtoy, it'd be meant to be a 5-litre one or something like that. Not that it makes any difference, but now the Chiron, again, I thought with, sorry, not a Chiron, it's actually a Ford Galaxy, but the same, in real life it's the same thing. I thought this needed doing, because, I mean, I've done 2 different variants here. I've gone with a little bit of an extra lip on the front one, and not quite so much on the back, so those slots are still exposed. They both look all right. They both look quite good. I'm not sure which variation of that I'll use for when I finally get around to doing this Ford Galaxy. But as they were, they had to be changed. They weren't really suitable for that kind of car at all. So anyway, let's get to the results. So this is just the basic toning down that I've done on here. It's very subtle, but subtle's good. It still leaves it as like a bit of an over-the-top wheel. It's just that it's now got a definite sort of tyre edge to it. Given the plans I've got for this particular ML, that's probably quite suits it. The Focus, like I say, I've just done the front one in black, but again, it leaves you little slots around the edge, those little silver slots, which give it a certain bit of something, I think. So that's probably what the wheels for this one will end up like, ultimately. It's good to do this now while they're all still in the sort of play-worn, not restored yet state. I mean, apart from the Porsche Cayenne, to be honest, that's probably a nice enough condition to just leave like that now. But the rest of them, yeah, they're all still a bit knackered looking, and but the wheels are kind of done, they're sorted. That's the hard part. Again, this Mini, that was one that I just did quickly off camera, just to sort of give you an idea of what can be done. But I certainly think that Cayenne looks like I said before, it looks a bit weird, but it's not just definitely slightly rubbish looking like it did look. And the Chiron, sorry, I keep calling it a Chiron. This one is a Galaxy, but the VW Chiron and the first Ford Galaxy were identical clones of each other. I think the Mercedes is probably the one that I'm the happiest with in terms of the change. Like I said, they do just look like the kind of wheels that you might get on, like somebody, if somebody did a really, quite expensive, like heavily detailed diecast of this car. So, yeah. So there you go. I hope that's of some use to you. Once again, thanks for watching.